There was a time when I actually believed doctors were there to help us and to heal us. In fact, when I first got really sick, I thought that doctors would help me. And so I just kept trusting the system that it was going to take care of me. And I went from specialist to specialist to specialist, all trying to find someone who would figure out my diagnosis and then give me the right medication so I would be healed, cured, and be able to live the rest of my life in health. Do you want to know what really pisses me off? Doctors. Doctors who refuse to allow me to have any say in my own health, in my own medical program. I've been bullied by so many doctors over the years that there was a time when I hated all doctors. And I finally started to feel like I've been healing from that trauma, the trauma of being cornered in my hospital bed by doctors trying to pressure me to take immune suppressant drugs, and the bullying of doctors in emergency rooms when they say, why aren't you on this drug and this drug and this drug? You should be on all these drugs before we do anything to help you. Or doctors who act like I'm a complete fool and an idiot because I'm managing my disease through my diet and through supplements and detoxing. So are you one of those people who just 100% believes that doctors know how to heal us and would never do anything against your doctor's wishes? Because if that's the kind of person you are, then you are nothing like me. There was a time when I actually believed doctors were there to help us and to heal us. In fact, when I first got really sick, I thought that doctors would help me. It was actually a pharmaceutical that caused my illness. It was a vaccine of all things, which became super controversial a few years ago. But my vaccine injury happened in 2008, way before the whole COVID scamdemic. My vaccine injury was just one of the regular vaccines that everybody assumed was safe and effective until you do your research and you find out that they're all classified as unavoidably unsafe. And they all list in their product insert as adverse reactions every single autoimmune disorder that exists. They're known for causing autoimmune conditions, and yet we're told that they don't cause autism. But that's a whole other rant. This rant is about doctors who think that they know better than I do about what's right for my body. Because after I almost died from a vaccine and had my intestines and my gastrointestinal system pretty much destroyed by those vaccines, and then went on to go through years and years of disability and fatigue and lost my job, lost my marriage, lost my dreams, thought I might not ever dance again for a long time, couldn't turn a door handle or walk upstairs or even fit my swollen joints into normal shoes. All of this because I trusted a product, a pharmaceutical product, that when it disabled me, I was gaslit and told, oh, it couldn't have been from the vaccine. People just randomly, all of a sudden, in the middle of their normal life, completely become disabled. And yeah, they might have taken a vaccine, but that's not why. I mean, what? And the stupidest thing was I actually believed my doctor at first when he told me it couldn't be from the vaccine. And I didn't do my research at that time. And so I just kept trusting the system that it was going to take care of me. And I went from specialist to specialist to specialist, all trying to find someone who would figure out my diagnosis and then give me the right medication so I would be healed, cured, and be able to live the rest of my life in health. That's what I actually thought would happen. I can't believe it looking back. I thought that doctors were going to heal me with their poisonous medicines, and then I was going to be cured. I didn't imagine a future where I was on a medication for the rest of my life. But then I got sicker and sicker, and it went on and on and on, longer and longer. And then I started to say, you know what? Just find me a medication so that I can manage my life. So I started taking one medication after another medication. And then after a while, I'm on multiple medications. And yet I'm not better. I'm on a beta blocker that keeps my heart rate from going crazy, but I still feel so tired and so sick that I can barely move. I'm on antidepressant because apparently this is all in my head. So if I go on an antidepressant, these symptoms will disappear. Well, I'm willing to try anything. I go on an antidepressant. Do my symptoms disappear? No. But I do become a little more numb to the issues in my relationship with my partner who believes the doctors that I'm faking my illness or that it's all in my head. I literally couldn't stand for more than 5 minutes without either passing out or feeling like I was going to pass out. My heart was racing constantly. I was having absence seizures. I was having all kinds of gastrointestinal issues and neurological issues. If I turned my head, the world would go like this. But I didn't tell anyone because I had to drive my kids to and from school. I still had to try and be a parent every day. And when I could only do one house whole duty a day, like today I'm going to clean the kitchen, today I'm going to do the vacuuming, today I'm going to clean the bathroom. And my partner was so disappointed to come home from work and things weren't as clean as they used to be. And somehow it was because I was faking my illness. So this is what doctors did to me and to my family and to my life. They told me that a product was safe and effective, and I took it. And then when I was so sick and disabled, they treated me like it was all in my head, which made my family even turn against me. Yeah, not all of my family. My family didn't turn against me. My parents, my siblings, but my partner and his family. They thought I lost it. They would talk behind my back, and my children would hear them and then ask me about it. Yeah, that's what it was like when I was being treated like a hysterical woman who didn't know what was going on in my own body. And then when I got so sick that I finally ended up in the hospital and had an emergency ostomy surgery, finally, they started to take me seriously. She almost died. Maybe we should take her seriously. Yeah, I almost died. And then after I went through that surgery and then had a reversal and was on so many antibiotics and had to learn how to walk again, coming out of the hospital and had a near-death experience where I went to the other side. And I mean, it was a journey. And then after all of that, when I wanted to try and heal naturally because I had lost my faith in the medical system, then it began again. The bullying, the pressuring, the trying to get me into the medical model. And I don't judge anyone who chooses to go that way, to take medication. I know the pressure, the feeling that pressure to do it, to try it. I know because I've had a lot of pressure on me. But I had started to look up things on the internet at that point. I had started to realize that when I changed my food, my symptoms got a lot better. Like when I went gluten-free, my symptoms got like 80% better. And people make fun of people who don't eat gluten and roll their eyes at me, especially doctors and nurses and dietitians. Aren't dietitians funny? They work in hospitals. You think they're going to be a nutritionist, but then when you're sitting there talking to them, you realize that you know more about nutrition than they do because they've been trained in the medical model. And the medical model is to keep us sick. So I'm sorry if you're a doctor and you don't know this and you haven't realized this yet, but you were only taught to treat my symptoms. You were only taught to give me a medication. And maybe you didn't realize that all of those medications were just going to keep me sick for the rest of my life. But the pharmaceutical companies that created your education in your medical schools, they knew. And the government who made it easy for them to get away with this, like the Food and Drug Associations and the people that are supposed to protect us from the shitty medicines and the shitty food, they're all getting paid. They're all getting money in the pocket. There's so much conflict of interest. It's ridiculous. But nobody knows that because the media, who I assumed would have told us if any of this was going on, they are all captured. The pharmaceutical companies own them too. So we don't get the real information. We're not told about this toxic shit that they're putting in our bodies. And a lot of our doctors, the nice ones even, which sadly, I didn't meet a lot of nice ones. I met way more asshole ones, but even the nice ones, a lot of them, even they don't realize that they're just perpetuating a system of sickness. They don't realize that because they haven't done as much research as I have. They haven't looked into healing and how we actually heal. And how we actually heal is not through a medication. We're not deficient in antidepressants. We're not deficient in vaccines. We're not deficient in any kind of medication. And you take something like antibiotics, which is a miracle. It really is. And it's saved my life many times. And I'm not going to say that there isn't a place for medication, even pain medication. I know people who refuse to take pain medication because they're so against pharmaceuticals. But I do not refuse pain medication. And I actually have to wean myself off it every time because my body recognizes it. And immediately I will start going through withdrawal when I go off a pain medication. But I still go on it every single time I have to have a surgery or I'm dealing with some crazy pain because I do see a place for medicine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that medicine is all bad. I'm saying that it doesn't heal us. It might make the quality of our life better in the moment, and it might save our life like antibiotics do, but it doesn't heal us. In fact, antibiotics, something that has saved my life multiple times, has also caused a lot of sickness in me. I swear it was antibiotics that caused me to develop horrible, crippling rheumatoid arthritis in all of my joints. I still have deformed fingers from, but I was able to heal quite a bit of that from taking supplements and detox supplements. In particular, food grade diatomaceous earth helped me a lot with that, which just goes to show that's a detoxing product. My body is so full of toxins that I needed a detox product to help give me some semblance of a life back. And when I started using natural things and they started actually giving me relief, things that no doctor was able to give me, and I literally weaned myself off all of those medications they put me on back in the day simply by changing my diet. And if any doctor or even naturopath, I even saw naturopath during that time, if any of them had suggested, excuse me, for me to change my diet, cut gluten out, cut out processed foods, cut out sugars, if anyone had suggested that, I would have tried it because I was desperate and I would have tried anything. And it was just a fluke that I came upon the idea, and I think it must have been divine intervention, but it occurred to me that maybe if I just created the most healing environment possible in my body, that I could start to heal. And so I just did a quick internet search for the most common food allergens. And I wrote down the list of 10 things, and gluten was one of them. And I just eliminated them from my diet for a couple days, and my symptoms improved 80%. Yeah, because my gastrointestinal system was destroyed by the vaccine. So yeah, I was reacting to all these horrible foods that people shouldn't even eat anyway. We shouldn't be eating chemicals in our food. That's a problem. You know, they keep saying in the States, oh, Canada doesn't have dyes in their foods. All these countries in Europe don't have dyes in their foods. So why does America? And I roll my eyes every time because Canada is not one of those great countries where we don't have dye in our food. We have so much dye in our children's foods. It's ridiculous. My son couldn't handle dye as a child, and I had to send him his own natural candy to school because all the teachers would give out candy to reward children. And then you wonder why they can't behave. Because you're giving them chemicals, literally chemicals that are known to cause ADHD type of symptoms. That's what those chemicals and those dyes in our foods. But here I go off again. The point is doctors, hospitals, they don't know this. They don't know these things that I feel should be common knowledge about health and healing. The way to heal is to detoxify the toxins out of your body and replace the nutrients that are missing from the body. That's how we heal. That is how we heal our bodies. There are natural ways to heal cancer. There are natural ways to heal almost any human ailment, if not every human ailment. But doctors don't know those ways. They're not taught in medical schools. But we can learn them from each other now that we have the internet. And that's what happened with me. I started looking up, this is back in the day. I was like, I'm going to just search these certain words. And I wrote how I cured my arthritis, how I cured my and whatever symptom it was I was dealing with. And that's how I started researching. And I started finding people's anecdotal stories of how they cured different illnesses that they had. And I started to have so much improvement in my health when I started copying other people. And when I was in the hospital, because something would happen, like I was having fistulas and abscesses and different kinds of issues with ever since I had the emergency surgery, which, well, really ever since I had the vaccine. The Twin Ricks vaccine in 2008. That's when it all started. And having all these issues, and they kept leading to issues. After my surgery, that was it. I was just years and years of being in and out of the hospital. And they really wanted to put me on immune suppressant drugs. But I didn't want to do them. I knew that there were people who cured themselves through natural treatments. So I wanted to heal myself through a natural treatment. And the reason why all of this is just coming up for me, and I'm ranting my face off right now, is because I felt like I healed a lot from those years of doctors gaslighting me and cornering me in my hospital bed and trying to push me into doing drugs that I didn't want to do and pressuring me, telling me I would never have a normal life again. And some people might say, well, if you were on the immune suppressant drugs, maybe you wouldn't have had the ostomy surgery. But I actually knew people who were on the immune suppressant drugs who were way sicker than me. They were in and out of the hospital way more often than me. And they ended up having to get ostomies. And a lot of them stayed on the drugs even after the ostomy. Somehow I got my health as good as I possibly could. And there was just part of my large intestine that no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't able to heal it in time for me to avoid having a permanent ostomy surgery. And after I went through all that hell of like the fistulas and the years of like it triggering different kinds of issues in my vagina area and just all that disease down in the lower part of my colon that was affecting my life. I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk. After a while, I couldn't even have sex. That's when I was like, give me the bag. And I got the bag, and my life is improved dramatically. And now I have other issues to do with having an ileostomy, like dealing with dehydration and having to go for regular IV hydration. And interestingly enough, going for regular IV hydration, I was in the hospital regularly for the last year and lots of really friendly, sweet hospital staff and not dealing with any doctors bullying me or pressuring me or trying to get me onto immune suppressant drugs or anything like that. And it was so nice. I felt like I was starting to heal from that. I was starting to feel like I don't hate doctors anymore. And I wasn't getting that anxiety I used to get, and I wasn't crying every time I had to walk into a hospital anymore. I was smiling, walking in and feeling good about it. And I really felt like I was healing. And then it came time for me to reschedule my IV hydration, which I get it every 2 weeks, and it's made me able to live a mostly normal life with my ileostomy. And I was so grateful for that because I've been able to keep a consistent exercise routine, and I found ways through natural ways, like taking a little bit of Metamucil and a little bit of water to slow transit. And I found lots of different ways without having to go on immune suppressant drugs to manage the issues of having an ostomy. And I needed to just have another year of visits to get my IV hydration booked. And I called up the doctor, and I don't have a doctor in my area because I moved. So I'm using an on-call phone doctor that I have access to. And she treats me extremely dismissively and asks me why I don't have a gastroenterologist managing my case. And I explained to her, well, every time I've had a specialist, including gastroenterologist or rheumatologist, they've wanted to put, and even a gynecologist, they've wanted to put me on drugs. And I said no. And then they had nothing left to offer me. And so I don't have a doctor because they have nothing to offer me. And she argued with me, literally argued with me over and over, saying, it's my duty. I wouldn't be a good doctor if I didn't make sure that you were being taken care of by a specialist, and I need to refer you. And she, no matter how much I told her I don't need a specialist because there's nothing a specialist can do for me, she wouldn't take no for an answer from me. And I finally had to agree to go and see a specialist just to get the rest of my issues that I was talking to her about, and my IV appointments in particular, taken care of. So I felt extremely bullied and at her mercy, and it brought up all those old feelings of being treated like a piece of shit, like someone who doesn't know my own body, doesn't know what's in my own best interest, shouldn't be allowed to have control or bodily autonomy over my own body, and that doctors know better than me. Meanwhile, I know they don't. I've actually done the research. I've gone down the rabbit holes. I know all about the allopathic health system and how it's just dependent on pharmaceuticals. And we all know, if we have any sense, that pharmaceuticals are not natural for our bodies, and therefore they don't heal us. They're just more poison that we put in us. And I said it already. I'm not against medications. I'm against using medications to try and heal. It doesn't heal you. And I actually want to heal. I wanted to heal. I didn't want to have to end up with a permanent ostomy, and I tried really hard to heal my intestines. I had the strictest diet. I did fasting. I did detox supplements. I did zeolite. all kinds of things, probiotics. I mean, I could go on and on of all the things that I tried and the amount of money I spent trying to heal my intestine after a vaccine destroyed it. And then piles and piles of antibiotics, which saved my life, also continued to destroy my gastrointestinal system. If you haven't heard the news lately, they're starting to really realize that our guts, that's our immune system. Our immune system is in our gut. So antibiotics kill our immune system. Wouldn't it be nice if doctors could figure out a way to avoid that or to balance it out with probiotics? I mean, I tried probiotics, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on inside me. It didn't work. Clearly, it didn't work enough. My disease in my intestine progressed until I needed a permanent ostomy. And I can tell you, I'm really glad to be rid of that part of my body, that diseased colon that was causing me so many kinds of issues. But that doesn't mean that I should be forced to give up my bodily rights around my health. I shouldn't be forced to see a specialist, forced to waste my time going to see allopathic doctors who only can offer me medication. I remember asking for advice from my gastroenterologist on food and how to manage my diet. And he said I should take Metamucil before my meals with 2 glasses of large glasses of water. And I sat there and I knew he was wrong because I was supposed to take Metamucil in a tiny little bit of water. Otherwise, I would make my diarrhea worse. But my gastroenterologist, he knows nothing. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's never had an ostomy. He doesn't even have gastrointestinal disease, probably. And he's standing there, young, healthy, and telling me what to do with my body. Literally, every time I showed up at the hospital, because his office was across the street, every time I got hospitalized for an abscess or for some kind of medical emergency, he would show up and try to pressure me to go on immune suppressant drugs. I finally did give in. I did take one. And within 24 hours, I broke out in hives all over my body and I had to stop taking it. This is how my body reacts to chemicals now. I can't handle chemicals. I can't handle them in my food and I can't handle them in medications. So my answer to my health is never going to be medications. It never is. And I'm so sick and tired of being at the mercy of doctors who are trying to force me on medications. I think I deserve health care. After all, it was a vaccine that destroyed my health. But I don't think I should be forced to do things that I don't agree with and that I know my body doesn't agree with. And my body does not agree with chemicals. I've been eating too clean and I've been having way too clean of a diet and an environment to be able to tolerate chemicals anymore. And that's just the way it is. And you know what's also really toxic? Doctors who are trying to get me onto medications. I'm so tired of it. That was one of the reasons I wanted to avoid having an ostomy. I didn't want to be reliant on doctors for the rest of my life. It's triggering. It's extremely triggering. And I want to be healed. I want to move on from all this shit. I really do. I wish there was another way rather than having to deal with these closed-minded, holier than thou, God complex doctors who think that they know best when they haven't even been taught how we heal. And that's my rant today. Instead of doing a podcast episode, I had to let off a little steam. And that has really nothing to do with intimacy, except for the fact that when our health is bad, we don't want to have intimacy and we can go long periods without it. And when our health is good, then our desire comes back, our libido comes back, and we want to engage in intimacy. And for me, it was never the medications that got me there. If anything, the medications took my desire away. But when I was eating healthy, and when I am eating healthy, and when I have a clean diet, and I'm going to my IV hydration appointments so that I don't get dehydrated, and my life is going good, then I do have desire. Intimacy is something I want in my life because I'm healthy enough to do it. I'm not telling you, if you watched this far, I'm not telling you not to take medications. I don't know what's best for you. I don't know what's right for you. Your doctor doesn't either. Only you know what's right for you. You do what you think is best for you because I trust you to make the best decision for yourself. And I think that you and doctors and everyone else should trust me to make the best decisions for myself. If we could all just respect each other's bodily autonomy, and if doctors could maybe learn a little bit about nutrition and detoxification and how bad their medications are in school rather than being really pushed into this medical model. That would be really nice. I'm Trina Ricketts. This is Intimacy After Ostomy podcast, and I hope you have a wonderful day.